Good afternoon. This is Chantella Donahue. I'll be presenting my training on customer satisfaction and one call solution. Who am I? I'm Chantella Donahue. I have my bachelor's in social work and a master's of arts. I've been here at Verizon for 8 years. Position held customer service specialist, customer service advocate, temporary supervisor, and most recently, cultural ambassador. What can we do to increase customer growth and promote new customers? Well, what we can do is actively listen. Active listening is defined as a communication skill that involves going beyond simple hearing the words that another person speaks, but also seeking to understand the meaning and intent behind them. I want to start off with universal design. UDL guides the design of learning experiences to proactively meet the need of all learners. When you use UDL, you assume that barriers to learning are in the design of the environment, not in the student. UDL is based on brain science and evidence-based educational practices. It also leverages the power of digital technology. Diversity, equality, inclusion, and belonging. DIB will be addressed at the beginning of this training and throughout at the end. We must make sure, as customer service representatives, that we do not fall in the pitfalls of assumption and discrimination with our customers. All too often, we assume we know what the customer wants in the beginning of the call. We do not give them the opportunity to explain. Like, for example, sometimes for me, a customer will call in and their tone will be low. And automatically I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a disconnect. I'm not going to be able to make a sale. I'm not going to be able to promote anything for Verizon. Turns out the whole time the voice is low because someone's in the background sleeping, or because they're on lunch and they don't kind of want people in their business. And then when I actually take the time to listen to them and not assume, we get that upgrade. We get customer growth. We get what we call word of mouth. So assuming really stunts our growth as a business. Constant vigilance and even one-on-ones will help ensure that diversity, equality, inclusion, and belonging is implemented throughout this entire training. How do we add active listening to increase one call solution? So, as a social worker, I've learned that, I've learned that being able to actually listen to someone, not listen to respond, but listen to understand. So I know in doing so, we will enact this in our calls. And we'll be listening to actually see what the customer wants and needs. I know sometimes the call will come up and it'll say, I know I just said disconnect, it'll say disconnect. The customer might not even want to disconnect. That just might be the option that was selected in the automated system. So when we take the time to hear and actively listen, then we will actually know what the customer wants and needs. I want to start off also with who we are in our mission. Verizon's mission statement is, we deliver the promise of the digital world to our customers. We make their initiative and lifestyles possible. We do it all through the most reliable network and the latest technology. We need to go over some facts and have some necessary actions to follow what the facts are. Due to the first quarter of this year, Verizon Wireless has experienced a substantial loss in their postpaid customer base. So these statistics do not follow the prepaid, it follows the postpaid. So postpaid, as we know, are customers that have contracts, are customers that pay monthly for things such as tablets, phones, that pay in advance. Because as you know, we do bill a month in advance, versus the prepaid customers that pay as they go. So postpaid phone net losses was of 127,000. This is in the first quarter. This is from January to March of 2023. Such losses have increased the need for the one call solution. We must achieve this goal by actively listening to our customers. This will ensure that every call counts, leading to retainment of current customers and a substantial number of new customers. So I'm a strong believer, and other leaders are strong believers, that word of mouth is so vital to businesses. This is especially true for telecommunications companies such as Verizon Wireless. Being able to have someone speak to how great you treated them in an interaction, especially a business interaction where someone's spending their money and their time, because without the customer, we wouldn't be able to take care of our family. We'd be able to take care of our basic needs. So it's so essential that we actually listen to the customer. Goals that I want to achieve in this training are: we're trying to improve customer service experience with one call solution policy. So as you know, we have our connection piece, and that's really what I want to kind of focus on, because I feel like the connection piece and the active listening go well together. Because you, in order to actively listen, you're going to connect with the customer. Even if it's over something as simple as, yes, it's hot outside. Oh, I'm in the South, like me, in Arkansas. It is so extremely hot. Someone even in New York might say, well, yeah, this record temperatures. See, we're connecting. We're understanding each other. Then the customer will be more willing to open up and tell everything that they do need. So this will in turn significantly stop customers from leaving Verizon Wireless. And we will keep a significant number of customers and be able to grab new customers. So this is the order of our training today. First, we will talk to each person individually to determine the next steps of the training. So when we do talk to each other, I would want to do like a 101. Therefore, we'll be able to address any universal designs that we need to make sure we do not discriminate against anyone who has different learning capabilities or learning that what we would consider to be the norm, which there's no, to me, no such thing as a norm. But we'll be able to see if someone needs to set aside time to get caught up with everyone, even able to be able to see who's actually someone who's worked in telecommunications versus someone who is not. I know whenever I started Verizon Wireless, I was completely not computer illiterate, but not to where I am now, where I'm good with computers, good with phones, good with devices, and just basically comfortable. I was very uncomfortable. It was to the point where I almost left the company in training. So I feel like if we would have addressed certain issues or certain, not necessarily issues, but certain circumstances in which we're basically meeting people where they are to make sure that we bring them to where everyone else is. So, and then second, we're going to do train based on your pre-training surveys. So before, we filled out surveys to again help us better understand where you are. And then we had those open-ended surveys in which you were able to explain and suggest anything that we can do to better help your training. So, what brought you to Verizon Wireless? I will answer first. I was pregnant, and I'm pregnant again. I was pregnant, working at Walmart, and I remember always wanting to work in the call center environment. I wanted to be able to sit down and talk to people. I love to talk to people. So, and whenever I was actually working the help desk, and a person from a whole nother business came to me and said, you're wasting your talents here. You actually listen and you actually want to help people. So I think you should come to my business and apply, and we'll get you an interview. Well, that did not work out. And they then told me in the interview, actually, have you heard of Verizon Wireless? I had heard of Verizon Wireless, but I had no idea that there was a call center in my local town. And here I am now, 8 years later. So name one time you were talking to felt someone actively listen to you. Recently, I felt like that someone was actively listening to me. Well, I will just tell you, my husband. I've recently experienced a loss of a parent, and he wasn't listening to be like, it's gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay, don't you worry. It was more of a listening to, okay, I'm here for you. You tell me what you need, and I'm here for you. Okay? And number 3, name one time you were talking and felt someone did not actually listen to you. It was a customer service experience. I had to call about something that was happening with my vehicle. Someone hit me in a parking lot, and I wanted to call and talk to them. And every time I tried to say something, they were saying things that I hadn't even mentioned or I hadn't said. So every time I would say something like, for example, I'm not understanding what you're saying about something, your policy. And they would be like, well, our policy reads. And I would say, no, I would want this detail. And they would start back, well, our policy reads. And I was trying to understand what was going on versus something that I could read myself. So we're going to move on to gamification. Gamification is adding game mechanics into non-game environments like a website, online community, learning management system, or business internet to increase participation. The goal of gamification is to engage with customers, employees, and partners to inspire, collaborate, share, and interact. Our types of gamification in this training series: storytelling, scenario-based games, scavenger hunts, and then we will move on how we're going to score everything. So let's first start off with storytelling. Storytelling is an underlying narrative that offers a sense of continuity that encourages further participation. So I want to start off with the storytelling where in this training we're going to talk about Linda, the listener. So Linda was a customer service specialist, and she wanted to move to customer service advocate. As you all know, you're in the customer service specialist role for at least 6 months before you're even considered to be a customer service advocate employee. So what she wanted to do was to basically get over the barrier of what her supervisor, we're going to call him Joe. Her supervisor, Joe, was very concerned that she constantly talked to her customer. She would find herself sometimes even engaging in conversation that necessarily wasn't related to Verizon Wireless, but it comforted the customer. Even her fellow employees would say, hey, I have a disconnect call. I'm not sure how to talk to the customer. There was a death in the family and they need to disconnect immediately so they can move on with their day. So her fellow colleagues would even ask for her advice because they knew that she knew how to speak to her customer. So Linda had the barrier of being able to listen and also take care of business, because we do have to take care of the business as well as take care of the customer. So Linda started being called Linda the listener. So instead of her Joe harping on the fact that she does stay on the phone for a long time with customers, sometimes from anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes per call, as we all know, there's a certain amount of quota you have to reach, every day while you're taking calls. So he decided to promote her to cultural ambassador, a role that I've played before and currently play. As culture ambassador, she was able to be a bridge, a liaison between customer, faculty, and also leadership. So she was able to use her listening skills to further her career. So instead of Linda the listener being harped on or talked to in a negative connotation or a negative way, she was able to elevate her career just by simply listening. Okay, so then we're going to move on to scenario-based games. This activity promotes the development of critical thinking and problem-solving skills. We're going to role play with each other. Then we're going to have participation. We're going to participate in scoring each other. And then we'll have a group vote score. So what I mean by role play with each other, we are going to be, one is the customer, one is the representative. Then we're going to rotate. That person that was the customer will be the representative, and representative will be the customer. We'll learn skills. We'll write down, strengths and even weaknesses. And then we will participate in scoring how the strengths are. We're going to focus on the positivity in the training. And then we're going to do a group vote score to vote on which two players were the best in the role playing with each other. Okay, so then next is scavenger hunt. Scavenger hunts can be highly collaborative team building exercises. So our team building exercise that we're going to do, the trust fall. I first heard the trust fall myself when I was in high school, and I thought it was kind of scary. But to be honest, whenever I trusted that someone was going to catch me, I trusted them to work beside me in any capacity. Because I knew that they actually did the trust fall. I was able to trust them. We can do interactive problem solving. And our interactive problem solving is kind of like the role play. But instead of one person being the representative and one person being the customer, we're all going to be the representative. And we're going to have a problem such as customer calls in, doesn't know password, doesn't know PIN, has never used Verizon before, is currently with another carrier, but their relative or friend that they have the power of, POA of power of attorney has passed away. How do we take care of this customer in their time of need? And how do we ensure that they are listened, that we are listening to them? That is an example. Okay, so at the end of each activity, we're going to have badges giving. So the badges are used to buy things such as merchandise, Verizon gear, gaming gear, etc., even household products, extra breaks. Sometimes those 2 15-minute breaks in the day is not enough. And time off phones. As we know, phone calls can go back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back. And you're like, oh my goodness, I can't even breathe. That time off the phones, even if it's just 30 minutes, it can be spread out throughout your 10-hour shift. It can be a constant, just a breathing moment, just a relaxation moment, just to reset so you can be there for your customer. So, at the end, we're going to have a discussion time. What did you like most about the training so far? Did you like... Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to say, we're going to hand out such sheets as this. So, surveys. How would you rate the training? Where 1 being very satisfied and 5 being very dissatisfied. What would you change about the training? So this is open-ended. As you can see, there's space here. So someone can write or type whichever one they want to do. And of course, they can use the back if they have more to say. And then, did you feel you can implement this training in your everyday calls? There's a difference between being trained and being able to use that training in your cause. So that's a yes or no. And then we also give space, a lot of space, to explain this. So, and then also an important question is, what would you keep in the training? As you know, this training module today is so that we can, as leaders, so that we can grab all this and come together and help the new training class. And the reason why I'm kind of pinpointing the new training class, I feel like, as I mentioned earlier, like meeting people, making sure we don't discriminate, making sure we use universal design, DIB. If we are able to implement this in the beginning, it's more likely that it will be spread out throughout their career. Things have to be addressed in the beginning. It's kind of hard to make things better. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but to make things better and make them work better, if we see it in the beginning and we kind of pass by it and we don't address it. So that's why I think we should definitely put this in practice for our beginning and new employees. I'm not saying they're not adapted to active listening. I'm not saying that they do not do it in their everyday life. I just feel like if we actually tell them how important it is, use examples, the role playing, also the gamification, and things like that. Even with the being able to definitely after the icebreaker, being able to talk to how important it is, things will be better.